Lord of the Rings of Power is back, baby, and I'm so excited. This week they graced us with the first 3 episodes of season 2, and here are my thoughts and opinions. I binged watched them all immediately and I got a lot to say, so I hope that you enjoy this review. FYI, there will be spoilers in this video, you have been warned. And I will leave timestamps and chapters in the description box as well for each episode, because I am going to talk about all 3 in this video. If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to give it a like to let me know. So episode 1 of season 2 starts off with a really cool shot of Sauron's crown helmet thing. Although Sauron himself has actually taken a different form and therefore there is a different actor, and I'm not gonna lie, that really confused me at first. It doesn't take much, to be honest. I really liked the old hunk Halbrand, but it does make sense that they changed his form and therefore had to hire a different actor, because that is part of Sauron. He can change his form and how others perceive him. But I'm not gonna lie, it did confuse me at first because I had no idea what was going on. Thank God he introduced himself in the first 10 seconds of the episode. So it starts off with showing the backstory of how he took the form of Halbrand in the first place. So by now we know who Halbrand is, we know how he met Galadriel right back at the start of season 1. So this is giving us some backstory as to how he actually got there. How did Sauron become Halbrand, and how did he end up on that raft when he met Galadriel in the middle of the sea? He kills an orc. It was a pretty savage death, I'm not gonna lie. They really ramped up the brutality in this episode. Sauron is then betrayed by Adar, who stabs him with the crown. And they think that he's dead, but psych, you can't kill Sauron. And we do later see that he does take the form of some big squelchy black monster thing that emerges from the darkness. So Sauron is obviously not dead, but Adar isn't aware of that. Speaking of Adar, they also changed the actor for him as well, which did confuse me again. A lot of confusion going on in my brain. I'm not the brightest tool in the shed. So this new guy has a lot to live up to in terms of fulfilling the role of Adar. But I would say he's done a pretty decent job so far in these first 3 episodes. So the squelchy black monster thing does eventually turn back into Halbrand when he eats a random woman. Obviously he needs to gain his power and his strength from eating creatures. So he becomes Halbrand and the hunk is back. We can all calm down. So at this point we are still set in the past on the lead up to where he meets Galadriel. We found out how he ended up on the ship in the first place, that gets targeted by the sea monster, and we do see that Sauron / Halbrand cannot be killed by the sea monster. Duh, he's Sauron. He ain't gonna be eaten by a fish. We do also see that he is truly pure evil in this scene. Like, he does not have a single speck of goodness in him at all. And we see that when the old man is trapped on the ship and Halbrand has the chance to save him. But he doesn't. Instead, he rips off the guy's necklace with his sigil on and uses him as inspiration for his story to pretend to Galadriel that he is an heir to the Southlands. So he takes all this guy's lore and ideas and then just leaves him there to die. Pure evil. We then see Galadriel and Elrond riding some horses. Not pleasantly so though. These events take place immediately after where season 1 left off. So we are back in the present tense. Those two are having a lot of conflict. There's been the revelation that Halbrand was not who he appeared to be, and Elrond has nicked the rings and has ran off with them. Elrond has bragged to the king that Halbrand is an imposter. So Galadriel has no choice but to confess everything. Because she was withholding that information, now she has no choice. It's quite funny because we do get to see the king swear in Elvish. I'd love to learn that. Elrond believes that the rings are corrupted because Sauron was working with Celebrimbor to forge them, and therefore Elrond urges the king that the rings must be destroyed. The king, however, wants to keep the rings because it's helpful for the elves to get their immortality back. So Elrond jumps off a cliff. Casual. Avoid all your problems by just jumping off a cliff. You'd never have to argue with anybody again. I must say, one of the reasons why I love anything to do with Lord of the Rings is because the scenery is stunningly beautiful. Every single shot of Lindon is just chef's kiss. We also get a really cool shot of the volcano erupting in Mordor, and we see the orcs army, who I must say didn't look too dissimilar to me when I woke up this morning after having 4 hours sleep. At this point, Sauron is still posing as Halbrand, heir of the Southlands, even when he's confronted with Adar, because Adar doesn't know that Sauron is there because he took a different form last time he saw him, and Adar believes that he is dead. We also get to see the stranger again. Oh, I love this man. He touches a tree branch, gets a load of flashbacks, maybe perhaps to his past life. He's trying to figure out who he is and how he came to be here. And then Nori appears, his little sidekick. So they are wandering across a desert. The stranger can all of a sudden speak perfect posh English, which I don't recall him being able to do in season 1, but hey ho. He's now turning into a doppelganger Gandalf, who speaks like a posh old Englishman who lives in the country. He touches a tree and it explodes. That tends to happen when you touch wood. And we get some very deep chats between Nori and Stranger. These guys love their deep chats. We also get some lessons by Sauron on how to train your dog. And then Elrond is sat under a bridge after jumping off a cliff. We are also introduced to Círdan. He's basically a beautiful old man with luscious locks looking out at the sea. He has such gorgeous hair he could be in a hair care commercial. He is actually a pretty big character in Lord of the Rings, and Elrond goes to seek his counsel because he's very old, very wise. Elrond calls him the wisest of our kind. Flattery will get you everywhere. Círdan tries to reassure Elrond that the rings are fine. We also see that Galadriel is trying to reason with Elrond and try to convince him to join over onto her side and help her in her mission. However, at this point, Elrond has already given the rings to Círdan, so he doesn't have them anymore. And we see that Círdan is sailing across the water with the rings in his pouch. However, his boat does get attacked somehow. Poppy joins the squad of Stranger and Nori, a very cute little squad that they got going on. And then it turns out that Doppelganger Gandalf can sing really well. He busts out some operatic tones. I don't remember why he sung, but I'm really happy he did. As they say, the rings call and then they corrupt. Because at this point we do see that the elves start to wear the rings of power when Círdan returns them. The king already has a load of fancy rings, he doesn't need another one. And by putting the rings on, Lindon starts to regain its life again. The trees flourish and gain new leaves, the world is a whole lot brighter, the music changes. Not much happened in episode 1, however it completely captivated me. At the end of the episode, Sauron does arrive to negotiate with Celebrimbor. And in episode 1, the dwarves weren't included at all, neither were Arondir, Theo, there's a load of characters that we have yet to see. So let's move on to discussing episode 2. And yay, the dwarves are back! So episode 2 opens with a shot of the dwarves. We've got Prince Durin and his wife, who is a lot of people's favourite character for good reason. She's so wholesome. But the mountain is collapsing and the dwarves are covered in darkness. This is partly due to the eruption of the volcano from Mordor and due to the Balrog that had been woken up at the end of season 1 that lies under the mountain. It's nice to see the dwarves again. Galadriel is speaking in honour of her deceased brother, and we're reminded that the whole reason she started this quest in the first place was to avenge her brother's death. She also experiences some sort of nightmare or vision of Celebrimbor dying. I think Galadriel needs to take the ring off. It's like tripping on acid. She does tell the king that since wearing the ring, she's seeing parts of like the unseen world. Spooky, scary stuff. At the end of episode 1, we saw that Halbrand was trying to speak to Celebrimbor. However, good old Celebrimbor denies him entry, refuses to speak to him. Galadriel seems to think that she can take Sauron on a one-on-one, forgetting that he is so much more powerful. We also go back to the crazy cult at the end of season 1 that were looking for the stranger, so we've got the real Slim Shady again. And there was a weird guy in a mask in episode 1 who is part of this cult as well, so they've got more people who are looking for the stranger. And he does actually threaten to kill the Harfoots, Nori and Poppy, if the stranger does not give himself up to them. So that story is going to progress significantly. We see a poor snake get stabbed, which was really sad. I still cannot get used to the stranger's posh voice at this point. The dwarves are struggling to harvest crops, and they cannot find any safe place to dig as well. So Durin's wife starts singing for some reason. She's not quite as good as the stranger when he sings. The opera isn't quite the same. But what can I say? I'm definitely not an expert on singing. The king is really defiant and refuses to apologise to Prince Durin, and vice versa. They are both as stubborn as each other. Like father, like son. Durin says a really cool quote to another dwarf. "Lay a finger on me again and I'll bite it off at the knuckle." I just thought that was 10 out of 10. Elrond is still refusing to have any part in Galadriel's mission. He even threatens their friendship at this point and says that by wearing the rings they are collaborating with Sauron. Círdan's cool ring that he wears all the time seems to attract a load of fish. I think he was supposed to somehow showcase the power that it has and decided to use the fish to do so. And he also tells Elrond that the rings can be used for good as well as bad. Poppy, Nori and the stranger get discovered by the cult when they go to drink some water, which was clearly a trap that they fell into. But Doppelganger Gandalf begins to use his really cool, amazing powers. And he causes a hurricane in the middle of the desert. Things are flying all over the place. But the explosion is actually a lot huger than he anticipated. Like, this boy be powerful. So powerful that he almost kills the Harfoots in the process. Nori and Poppy just go spiraling off. So they have flown off into the abyss, which I'm pretty sure was not the stranger's plan. I don't realistically understand how anybody could survive that. However, I'm pretty sure that they will, because surely that is not the way that they are going to kill Nori and Poppy off. That would be a little bit anticlimactic if that was how they died. No motivational speeches beforehand or anything. So at the end of episode 2, Halbrand changes his form, or Sauron rather, changes his form in order to trick Celebrimbor. And he is successful. We get a very dramatic scene of Sauron's new form emerging from the fire. There's like an echoey voiceover. And that is the end of our hunk Halbrand. We will probably not see him again. That is episode 2 in a nutshell. Now we move on to episode 3, which is the final one that we have so far. We start off this episode with a horse drop-kicking an orc. And in the first 5 minutes of this episode, we see the emergence of some characters that were left off in season 1 that we have not been reintroduced to yet. For example, a main portion of this episode is based on Isildur and Arondir and Theo and what they're up to. We are also back in Númenor in this episode because we get to see the aftermath of the explosion. The Queen's father has died, she has also been blinded. I feel like in this series they have so many characters and they like the scenes to be really, really long, which means that they can't possibly fit every single character into one episode. So sometimes you can go a few episodes without seeing a certain character. We are introduced to a huge big boy called Damrod, who is a huge hill troll, and he becomes important later on in this episode. We also get the progression of the Mithril storyline. So Celebrimbor tells the dwarves that he thinks that Mithril might be able to help them just like it did with the elves. Sauron in his brand new form has a chat with the dwarves. Obviously they've got no idea that he is Sauron. Prince Durin though is a little bit skeptical, and rightly so. He's a pretty smart cookie. Sauron's new form is creating drama amongst the elves as well, trying to turn them against each other, stirring the pot a bit. Isildur was about to drink water from a lake where a dead man is rotting in it, so thank goodness he didn't drink that. And then he gets stabbed by a new lass called Estrid. And I think it's pretty clear that she is going to become his love interest at some point. Isildur and Estrid get attacked on their travels, but then boom, Arondir arrives. Although it's not that happy to see him because we do see that I think Bronwyn has actually died. I really liked Bronwyn. So we see Theo, Arondir and a load of other humans attending a funeral. I hoped it was not Bronwyn, but then I googled afterwards and I think it is Bronwyn who has died. No more hashtag Arondir. It looks like in this episode, Prince Durin and the King are reconciling again, which is nice to see. Episode 3 was a lot slower than episodes 2 and 1, but we don't mind because it does set the seeds for future plots to sprout. I'm quite pleased with that phrase. And for new storylines to progress. The new character Estrid that we were introduced to does actually have the mark of a Dar on her back. It looks like she's trying to get rid of it, so she might be a goodie. However, it adds some character depth to her. We love to see a good character arc. Then Theo and the humans are presented with an ambush, and this is where our big boy Damrod comes back, grabs Theo, takes him away. So not only has this boy lost his mother, but he might be about to lose his life and he's been taken by a hill troll. It's not a good time to be Theo. There's also a lot of conflict going on in Númenor. A lot of people are saying that the Queen is not fit to rule because she is now blind. She gives a very motivational speech, all hail the Queen, but then it all turns on its head. A random woman whose name I forgot and she does serve some importance but I just can't remember. She goes bowling. And she rolls the Palantir ball thing down the stairs in the middle of the audience, stating that Isildur is dead because of that ball thing. The Queen has massively messed up here. There's a riot that starts and then a huge hawk arrives, and at this point I have no idea what is going on. The episode ends with the creation of the Dwarven Rings of Power. Now Sauron is involved in this process. He always likes to get himself involved. But if you look at his hands, it looks like he does something to the mithril before he puts it in the pot to forge the rings. It's like he has imbued it with his own power secretly that the others couldn't detect. So these rings are going to be a little bit sus, to say the least. And that is everything that happened in episodes 1 to 3. I've probably missed a lot of detail. It is me that we're talking about here. But those are the main things that I picked up on. If you picked up on anything else in Rings of Power so far that I did not discuss, then please leave a comment to let me know and to let other people know as well, because that'll be really helpful. So from now on, the episodes should be uploaded weekly, so I will upload my reviews weekly as well. Thank goodness, because it was quite difficult watching 3 hours worth of Rings of Power this morning before clocking on to work. I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are so far on the Rings of Power. I'm personally really enjoying it. It is slow paced, but it's quite a relaxing programme to watch, I feel like. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below so that we can keep the conversation going. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up to let me know that you did. And if you like my content and you want to see more from me, then please subscribe, because it's free and it means that you can see my videos a lot easier. And as I said, I'm going to be uploading reviews on each episode of the Rings of Power as they come out each week, and I've got some other content coming out too as well, so I really hope that you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it. I will see you next time, or rather you'll see me, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now. Oh, hello.
Just going to have like a sneak peek.